when stars are in light, the weeper, we would know.
Hello, hi, how are you? Welcome, Happy New Year, Stephanie.
Hi.
So glad that you're co-hosting with me again.
I know, it's so fun. I love this.
Did you know, you probably did not know this, did you know that this is our 44th episode? 7 seasons.
So
we
cool.
have 7 seasons of talking about improving sales performance and visiting with key leaders and sharing experiences and talking about the things that are relevant to business leaders and sales leaders on how they can grow and grow their business and improve their sales performance. So excited. And I'm really excited about this season too. We have lots of great guests lined up, and we're going to be featuring some authors this season. Just a wide variety of people that will be joining us this season. If you're joining us live, either on LinkedIn or YouTube, go ahead and put something in the comment. Let us know maybe where you're coming from, where you are today, what state, what city are you in, and because we're always interested, what is the weather like in your place? We were commenting at some of the typically warm weather destinations are rather cold right now, at least cold by our standards.
That's right.
Of what that means.
That's relative.
It's all relative. That's exactly right. And if you're new to the program, and you're on YouTube, I know some people are watching on LinkedIn, some people are watching on YouTube. If you're on YouTube and you like what you see, please remember to give us a thumbs up and subscribe and like, and all the things that you do on YouTube. That's always helpful for us as we're continuing to grow our channel and try to get as much exposure as possible to the guests that we have on. All right, so one last thing. While we're going through this, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment box. It is relatively live. I mean, I think there's sometimes a 10 or 15 second delay, but if you have a question, I'll try to monitor those and get them asked if I know that we're not going to get to them naturally. And I'm really excited today. Stephanie Downs, who's a partner at the Center for Sales Strategy and a senior vice president consultant, she's obviously my co-host, and she's been on before, so everyone here knows her. But I'm gonna hand it to you and let you introduce our guests, and let's get into it.
Yes. Okay. So I am seriously stoked about our guests today. They're just really awesome. And here's why I think they're awesome. When you think about improving sales performance, you think about the importance of being people leaders and about the importance of the role that people play in improving sales performance. And our guests today, let's bring them on. Our guests today, Maryann Balbo and Francie, which I think that's such a fun name, Mallace, are the epitome of people leaders, of really knowing and understanding, and more importantly, acting upon being people leaders. And so, quick introduction for the two of them. They are both group vice presidents with Cox Media, and Fran has been with Cox Media for 30 years and has had. Fran was telling us this as we were starting. She's had 10 different roles, and she will tell you it's because she can't keep a job. However, with that being said, we all know.
It's not true.
We all know that those 10 roles are all within Cox Media, because Cox Media is very good at recognizing talent in people, about growing within their organization, recognizing that talent. So all 10 of those jobs have been in the same company. And that also shows what a great job Fran does. And Maryann has been with the company for 4 years, and she is on her second role. And so she has also grown.
She can't keep a job either.
I learned from the best.
Yes, I love it. So no, that was fun. And I know that we all talk about, anybody that works with Cox Media, talk about, being a people company, right? And obviously, good example of what the two of you have done in the company. So let's jump in.
Wait, hold on.
Okay, what?
They
Oh,
also
wait,
have something.
how can I forget the
Do you
most
have a commercial break for us now?
Come on.
Commercial break?
Correct. No, the most important thing. Both Fran and Maryann, thank you, Matt, for calling me out. They are CSS talent superheroes, which is so cool. And Maryann is our first ever repeat winner. That's a really big deal.
That's awesome.
That's exactly right. That's
That
awesome.
is so cool. I know. Seriously, how could I miss that?
Such an honor.
Yeah. No. Well,
Two-peat.
You two deserve it. There's a reason that you're winners and repeat winners. You deserve it. Okay, so let's jump in. So from your perspective, Maryann, I'm going to come to you first, and then Fran coming to you after that. Talk to me about what are the characteristics that make a great sales leader? What are some of the things that just really stand out to you?
Sure. That's a great question. First of all, I want to say thank you for having us. It's such an honor to be here. CSS is a very important part of my professional career and changed my life years ago when I went through talent-focused management. And I really, truly believe that if I hadn't embraced CSS, I wouldn't be sitting here today. So thank you. Great question about what makes a great sales leader. I would take sales off from the beginning of the title and just talk about leadership. First and foremost, because it doesn't matter if it's sales or engineering or CEO, leadership is all about people. And it's a privilege and not a right. And if you're focused on growing and supporting your people and being an advocate on their behalf, that is so important from a leadership standpoint. Identifying what people's strengths are and celebrating those strengths, as well as growing them to make them even better, so you can clear them up for even additional success. And then celebrating that success. You are a true leader. A lot of times people think leadership is about making tough decisions. And yeah, we all have those days. But if you're challenging your team and answering questions with questions and really helping them to think broader and enhance their critical thinking, helping them get there through a specific thought process, you're leading. And as a leader, you own the tough decisions. You own the mistakes. You own that as a leader. Your team owns the celebrations. They own the wins. And you're really teaching the next generation of how to be a good leader and how to make good decisions in the future. So I always say leaders that think that they're there to save the day by giving direction, they're running a business. That's not what leading an organization or people is all about.
Right. Yeah. Very well said. Fran, what would you add to that?
Yeah, so I would agree. And we always like to say,
And
so for, I think most of the people that are on the call, from what I can see here, they know we love a good quote. So a lot of time we spend, what's the difference between leaders and managers? So I'm going to kind of start out with kind of a fun little quote that resonated for me when Maryann was talking. It's, when I talk to managers, I get the feeling that they are important. When I talk to leaders, I get the feeling that I'm important. So I think a really big distinction with that is really making it about them and not you. And I think if you come in with that that mindset, it's very inspirational to make sure that you don't make it about yourself. And I think that's something that as a leader, as we've grown up in the industry, and with whatever job we've had with me, all the last 10 jobs, you got to really make sure that's, really at the forefront. And I think part of that is being a great listener who genuinely cares about the person first. And you described that really well, which is people first. And you don't care about how much revenue they bring in, because that's just a number, right? You got to really make that differential from the beginning. And then great leaders, another one that really resonates for us is they're curious. They ask a lot of questions. They want to understand everything about the customer, about the people they work with, about anything, particularly their families, right? So those are the little things that I would add that I think are very big things for a successful leader to embrace and really live that life.
Yeah, those are great additions. I'm glad you added those. And I personally look forward to getting your Monday morning email that has your quotes. I love your quotes. It's fun to get those every week. So tell me, and you just referenced this, Fran, so I'm going to stay with you on this one. You just referenced people first. Take that more from a company perspective, because I know at Cox Media, it is a common thing about being a people first company. What does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, it really means exactly what is translated is that people come first and nothing else matters, right? You got to get that right first. But one of the things that, I like to think about all the time is what makes people tick and what ticks them off. And once you figure that out when you're talking to other people with that, it reminds you to make sure that you understand what that really means too. So I think that's a big part of, really understanding people at the core of why they come to work every day and why they get motivated and why they really want to come to work, and then creating that environment that allows them to really flourish and doing all that. Another piece of that in a really people-focused culture is feedback, right? I mean, we joke a lot, it's a gift, and you're like, is it really a gift? Yes, it is. It really is a gift. But it really allows a person to know what they're really doing well, because you want to make sure it's really balanced, right? Because I think for those of us who have grown up in the business and can think about times where you may have had a boss that was really hard on you and you didn't really know why at the time. I think we've learned from that's great, because you want to know what you're not doing is great and how you can do better. But you also want to know when you're really doing the things that are really meaningful and that really make a difference. So I think embracing that learning and also being able to make mistakes and being able to learn from them really truly creates that growth and that trust and all those things that go with it. So I would say that's for me at the core of what that looks like.
Yeah, for sure. And Maryann, so you started nodding when she was saying that.
Yeah, she's right on. I mean, making mistakes in a safe environment, that is a positive people-focused culture, to be able to encourage people to grow. And if they make mistakes and learn from them, that's to be celebrated. And when you don't have that type of culture where it's actually, not a positive, then people stop speaking up and they stop being creative and they stop being curious.
You squelch it, right?
Yeah. That's so, disturbing. When I think of a positive people culture, I definitely think of, understanding what people's individual whys are, and then, what their purpose is, and then creating an environment that has a collective purpose that those individual whys can fit into. And then that way, everybody feels engaged. They feel heard. They're part of something bigger than themselves. And in order to do that, you really need to understand what people's strengths are. It absolutely drives me nuts when everyone expects everybody to be good at everything all the time. Fran and I were just at a really great conference, and we luckily had the ability to hear from Olympic track star Allison Felix. She's a gold medalist, and she's pretty awesome. And she has won, all these gold medals for sprints and relays. And then she shared she didn't like to run, and we're like, what? She doesn't like to run long distance. Like, she doesn't even like to 5K. She couldn't remember the last time she'd even, run.
And she'd
3
never
miles.
done a marathon either.
No,
Oh, interesting.
and no one's asking her to be a long distance runner
No.
or a marathon or to even run a 5K. She likes to sprint, do it really fast, get it over with, and goodness knows she's really fast. But her coaches found that that's her strength. That's what she's really good at. So let's make her better and better. And that's why she's a gold medalist for sprints and relays because of that. If we can take those type of principles and put it into a very positive, people-focused culture, we magic happens.
Yeah.
We agree.
So
I think
let's go
I
ahead,
was just going to add one thing that Maryann said
Sure.
before, because I think it's something to really take with you. And that is when she said, when people stop talking, that there's a challenge, right? So just for everyone out there, if people stop talking, that there's something going on, and you got to make sure as a great leader that you find out what that is and make sure that you care for that really quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, so no, I'm sorry. Were you going to say something else?
I was going to say, especially your superstars, your most talented individuals on your team, they start getting quiet, you've got a problem.
Dig in. Something's up. Yeah, right. So let's stay on the topic of culture, because I know something that is near and dear to both of you, right? I am preaching to the choir on that. So thinking about culture, that doesn't happen overnight. That is not something that you just go, hey, I want a good culture and it's there, right? If you were giving advice to sales leaders or leaders in general, back to your point of taking out sales, because you're right, Maryann, that applies to all leaders, right? If you were giving advice to a leader on getting started on building a culture, what would be 2 or 3 things you would say, Maryann, or the advice you would give?
Yeah, I would start by being a good listener, because that's an important trait of a leader, and really understanding individuals as well as the team dynamics, and really digging into that individual purpose and why, and then having the open door to be able to hear others' opinions and thoughts and suggestions on how to develop a collective why, so that everybody is moving in the right direction. That takes time. Okay, that does not happen overnight. And it includes, developing a culture of, good intent, where every voice is being heard. Everybody understands how they're navigating and they are complementing the overall strategy, and that they have a say in it, ownership. And I would start with really getting to know our people. And developing that team environment and starting with purpose. All of the other pieces will come later. When I first went into this, I didn't get into rate cards. I didn't get into business rules, none of that. It started with the people and developing that foundation of culture. All those tactics will come later. And you will get a lot of input on what those should be.
Yeah, for sure.
People in the foundation, that's where really building that positive culture starts.
Yeah.
So, Fran, what would you say?
I think, again, the and for me is voice of the customer, right? So it's really figuring out what is it that truly is important. And the only way you're going to know that is if you ask. So we could spend all day long talking about what we think, but at the end of the day, if we don't do our research and really understand what's happening and keeping up with what's going on, we're not going to know. So we do really, truly spend a lot of time finding out what people are thinking and what's going to be important to them. Even when we do incentives, you think that most sellers want, money, right? They want cash. They really don't sometimes. They want natural rewards, or they want, a trip, or they want, fill in the blank, right? It could be something different every day. But unless you ask people what's motivating to them and what really inspires them, or the kind of culture they want to be in, it's really important. And sometimes we'll even say, hey, pretend you're me right now. You're now the leader. And you even can, when we used to be in the office, you have them sit in your chair. And, from a physical standpoint, you say, okay, guess what? Here's your magic wand. You now get to be leader for the day. What is it that you would do differently? What is it that you would change? What are we doing well? What aren't we doing well? But that constant asking those questions often enough really makes it different to understand what's going to motivate and inspire them. But you can't guess anymore, especially with our environment changing.
No. And Fran is so passionate, as am I, but she's definitely passionate around the customer. And it's about defining who the customer is, because as a leader, we have our external customers, but we also have our internal customers. Because if you're a true servant leader and you're there to serve others, your internal customers are your teams. So giving them the amount of attention and asking the right questions and understanding what their needs are is just as important as if you want a sales call with an external customer.
Yeah.
Just as important.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Because you're
goes
right,
back to,
it is
we
internal
laugh
and
about this,
external.
right?
Yeah.
It's a CVA. You go back to what the customer needs analysis is. You got to figure it out first internally. And then if you don't have customers, you don't have a business. So we got to get that right.
Yeah. And you're right, both of you. But Fran, I liked what you were saying, and Maryann, you've said this in different ways along the way as well. But you've got to ask. You've got to ask the questions. You've got to get that input. You've got to be an active listener to hear what your people are saying. But I love the fact that you give them a platform for that.
Yeah.
You're doing that. You're not just assuming what it is.
Right.
And you're also back to what both of you have said too. There's no consequences on their answer. Right. There's no, if they tell you something negative, there's no backlash to that. You may think, okay, how do we problem solve this? How do we fix it? How do we move forward? What's part of the solution? But there's not a consequence for speaking their mind.
Well, that's where that positive intent comes in, right?
Yeah,
I mean, if everyone
right.
knows you're starting in the same place and that everybody's there to truly do the right thing and have that positive intent, that's creating that culture that allows it, right? And you have to live it. You have to believe it. And you have to really, every single day, you have to be able to do that so that there's no confusion and there's a commitment, from the top down.
Right. Especially back to the point of when we all have that collective purpose. We know what that is and we talk about it a lot. We have that mission, right? We have that vision. We know what the end goal is.
Right.
And then we work on that together and we message that loud and clear and often, right?
Yeah. Well, and no one wants to come to work every day and go, hey, how do we torture people today? Right. I mean, literally you come to work and you're like, how can we make this the best possible environment for people to really go ahead and leave their workplace at work and then go home and be the very best human they can be. Right. I mean, there is a
I think
so if we can have a tiny little bit of, influence on that, that's a great day for us.
Yeah.
Because that in turn will lead to performance.
That's exactly
right. So going back to the sales leader, okay, if you are leading, if you are creating a people positive culture, a safe environment, guess what? You'll perform also. That's right. That's the natural progression. But
there is proven research. There is proven research that tells you performance will follow when you're doing that.
If you focus only on the number, it's not going to happen, and you're certainly not going to keep your people. That's for sure.
It's important, and we care about that. But people will help get us there.
That's right. People first. People first. People first.
That's right. Yes. And again, while both of you are talent superheroes, so okay, I'm going to shift gears just a little bit on us. So thinking about how sales management has really changed. I mean, because we all know it's changed a lot over the years, right? Compare what it was really like to be a sales manager 5 years ago to today, and what you think that may be 2 years from now or 3 years from now. Maryann, you go first.
Wow, it's changed.
That's a big question, isn't it?
It is a good question. It's changed a lot, and it continues to change. It'll change in the next 5 days. But that era,
I was going to say, don't say the last 5 years. Just say
just last week.
The era of that top-down approach and one voice being the decider, it just doesn't work anymore. And it doesn't mean that we don't see businesses that still exist like that. I actually do see a lot of businesses like that are still taking that approach. I just wonder how sustainable that is for the future, because in a workforce of people who want to contribute to the greater good, live their why, embrace diversity, thrive in an environment where people are heard and celebrated and supported, that old regime of do it this way because I said so is so outdated. And today, the expectation for a sales manager, it isn't just to hit performance goals. In fact, that's just table stakes. That's expected of you. Okay. It's so much more than that. It's not, somebody comes to me and says, oh, here's my numbers. I'm like, no. Talk to me about your growth of your people. Then we'll get to your numbers. Okay. What comes first? It's about the growth of the business coupled with the growth of the people and their commitment to the customers and to our community. And hitting sales goals. Yeah, it's important, but we get there. How we get there is just as important.
Right.
And I'm looking for a leader that is dedicated to their people, right? A servant leader that will sacrifice on their team's behalf. And when you do that, the numbers will come. As you shared earlier, there's proven research of that. And in my experience, above and beyond the basic goals of metrics, is that when you find this type of leader, they will excel, their people will excel, and your business will excel. And that has changed. The philosophy of corporate America is changing. And thank goodness for the better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Frank. And
And the toolbox has changed, right? So your current offerings are so different than they were, and the tools that you have to do that. So when you're selling, no matter what medium you're in, you're selling audiences across multiple platforms. And we kind of say, oh, on any piece of glass, right? And they're able to, our leaders are becoming way more educated on having to be able to speak to all those. And they're not relying on individual resources that we typically would have when we used to say we have dedicated, digital people. Everyone's that way right now. And you truly have to be more of a marketer than a seller than ever before. So I think that's one piece that really identifies that. And then as we talk about the customers, because I just can't help ourselves, they're more knowledgeable, right? They're more sophisticated. They have so much more data available today. And even in the last few months, they have more data. So we've become more like tour guides than ever before, because we have to help them interpret that, because there's so much coming at them that even though they've got all of it, they don't know what to do with it. And they're looking to us to really help them understand that. And every client is at a different level and expertise. So we really do. We talk about this all the time. And for those, particularly our teams that are on here, we always talk about how do you meet people where they are, right? Because they have such a different expectation than they ever had before. And we have to really figure out how to really talk to people differently than we ever have before and disseminate information in a different way so they actually understand it. But we kind of need to understand it before they do, right? Before we can even go to market with it. And then I think the last thing the only thing Maryann didn't touch on was just our new hybrid environment. It's still evolving. Just, 2 weeks ago when we thought we were all coming back into the office, here comes Omicron, right? And who knows what the next, version of what's going to happen, right? So we have to continually invent what we're doing and be more creative and try to figure out workarounds or anything that we can do to still keep people safe. And that's not only our people, but all of our customers and everyone that we do business with. So there's so many different dynamics that we've never had before because we've never been through a pandemic before.
That's so true.
And for those of us who thought it was going to be over, we'll be back in a month.
Yeah, back to what I said.
January 2022. So
that's right. Back to what I said about how things have changed. You're right. That's changed even in the last 2 weeks.
And but I think on the positive side, it's accelerated things too, in a way that we're so much further ahead than we ever were before. So that's kind of the silver lining in, as part of that.
Some good behaviors that we knew we should be doing that we weren't doing. I think there's a definite silver lining in it. As much negativity as there is, there's still a lot of good that has come out of it.
And no snapbacks, right? Not going back to the way it was, because now we have a brand new environment, but there's so many tentacles with recruitment and people living in different places and still being able to have, not a geographic location that they have to be taught. It's just, there's so much goodness that came out of it that we're super excited about.
Yeah. So I see a comment and the comment says, a leader is someone who helps you get where you want to go. And both of you are describing that really well. But some of the standout things, takeaways that I've heard related to that topic are the importance of understanding each person on an individualized basis, of really understanding them and what motivates them, even to the example you shared about contesting, right? But understanding them on an individualized basis, managing to strengths, and being an active listener. Anything you would add to that? Any of the one or the two other, if people walk away today hearing only two things, what would that be? Either one of you can go.
I would say as a leader, it's also important for you to look at yourself and have that internal conversation around what you define as growth, and set an example for your team of how you're investing in you. so that you can continue to grow, and how important it is. Because it's easy to say, oh, you have to grow this way, but and take on these additional responsibilities, et cetera. But are you actually walking that talk? So what are you going to do to grow? And that's important as a leader, is to always be a student of leadership, find ways for you to grow, set an example for your team, and continue to want to work for them to get better and better, to make sure that they are continuing on their path also.
Yeah, I would say open. I'll use a couple of words. Openness, right? Ability to change on the dime, right? So agility. I think those are really important. And then also continuous learning, because it is a journey. The destination part for us now, we don't know, right? It's going to continue to change. And as long as you can get good, we always used to joke about being comfortable being uncomfortable. I think that's our lives now. So you got to get good with that and really be able to own that and kind of have fun with it too, right?
Yeah.
And make sure, again, I think you also have to have fun. If you can't laugh at yourself and laugh at others, when you're making mistakes and all that's happening, then you're not creating the environment that's going to provide that growth.
Yeah. And what kind of example are you setting?
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
Important.
Yeah. And Fran, one of my, and I don't know if this is a formal quote, but one of my quotes that I like is that you're not growing and learning if you're in your comfort zone,
Absolutely.
right? You've got to get out of that to feel like you're really developing.
I think we need to redefine comfort zone for 2022. 2022 could be the year to redefine that.
That's right. So I truly could keep talking to you both for an extended period of time and ask you questions for another hour. But I just so appreciate both of you being with us today. I knew you would be very insightful guests, and no surprise you were. But thank you very much for joining us. Keep doing the incredible work that both of you do. And Matt, any final?
Yeah, before we get out of here, just a couple of things. I was taking like so many notes, and what you guys said was so amazing. A couple of things that I'll highlight is, in the very beginning, Stephanie, you talked about leadership and what does leadership really look like. And some of the responses that you gave, I just thought were so simple, but so eloquent the way you said them. I mean, people and talent, and not just recognizing the talent, but then developing the talent. So important. And then caring. And let's just put it out there. I mean, that is part of the job of a really good leader. And it's not forced, it's natural. You just truly have to care about growing them. And then putting people first, period. That's
Period.
It. Put people,
Period.
no but,
Yeah.
no but, put
No ands.
people first.
No
That's
ands.
Period. And then
Everything
period.
falls into place when you do
Right.
that.
And be curious. I love that. I also love that you guys talk about giving feedback, because I think when we hear give feedback, we talk about this in talent focused management all the time. When we hear give feedback, everyone jumps to criticizing, negative. So feedback is, tell me when I'm doing good. I mean, you're 5 to 1 a million times.
So
Right?
I can do it better. So I can do it even better.
By the way,
Stronger and
tell me what I
stronger.
do well, and I'll keep doing it well. But feedback has this negative image to it. It needs like a fix. And then respect talent and say not everyone has to be extremely good at everything. It's just not possible. So thank you so much for your insights today. I loved it. You guys are both awesome.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
And thanks for everyone. I mean, truly everyone on the call. Thanks for your resilience, your positivity, the agility. I mean, it's amazing to think about what so many people have done in so many great ways. It's incredible.
Yeah, your partnership is so tremendous to us at Cox, and thank you, because you have helped us to develop our talent and to recognize that there are more than one way to lead, and the new way of leading, I say new, it shouldn't be new, is the right way. So thank you for changing that across the entire country.
Yeah, and thank you for growing us. I mean, every opportunity we have, every conversation we have with your team helps us grow. So we're
Oh,
very
that means a lot.
appreciative of that.
Thank
That
you
means
very
a lot
much.
to
And
us.
Yeah.
we
We
have a
appreciate
lot
that.
of requests coming in for your magic wand. And so if people want to get your magic wand, they can reach you at your LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
So they can reach out to you, and Jay will put up, if you want Fran's magic wand or want to know where to get, oh, Maryann's got a magic wand too.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
I love
If
it.
you want, if
I
you
think
would like
there
to
might be
talk to
some
Fran
digital
or
leaders
Maryann
out
about
there.
their magic wands,
Maryann and I and Angela sent some digital leaders some magic wands for the holidays too.
Very fun. Yeah.
thank you very
Thank
much.
you
It was
both.
our pleasure spending time with you.
Yeah.
Have a great day, everyone.
Happy 2022.
Bye, everyone. Thank
Yeah.
you.
2022.
Bye, y'all.
Yeah.